Well, now we are starting. Hello to you all. My name is Maria Rita. I'm the Executive Director of Anjos do Brasil, a non-profit organization to foster angel investment. I welcome you all to the 70th edition of Café com Homus, an initiative of Anjos do Brasil and Israel Trade and Investment, which bring big names in the Israeli innovation ecosystem to share their vision on issues related to venture capital and the startups, in addition to discussing the potential of business and investments between Brazil and Israel. If you want to know the reason for this beautiful name, Café com Homus, I invite you to watch the event in which we received Eugene Candel. It's on Anjos do Brasil YouTube channel. We have a lot of interesting material in all the editions. Feel free to see and share with your contacts. Anjos do Brasil and Israel Trade and Investments had a long partnership. We organize investors' missions to Israel. Next year, we will have one. Events like this and a lot of connections between entrepreneurs and investors. We are certain that there is a huge potential for business that adds value for both our countries. We love to talk about innovation and the VC ecosystem. But these things are not abstract and only exist due to entrepreneurs, men and women that add a lot of work to good ideas, bringing new solutions to the world. Today, we receive one of those entrepreneurs, Peleg. To welcome and introduce our guests and talk a little bit about the work Israel Trade does, I will give you Sahi Hash, the head of the Israeli Economic and Trade Mission to São Paulo. Sahi, it's with you.
Thank you, Maria. Bom dia a todos. Shalom. Apologies if I have some noise at the background. It's really great to be again with this event, Café com Homus. We really appreciate the great partnership we have with Anjos do Brasil in creating these unique events to connect between the Israeli ecosystem and the Brazilian one. The Israel Trade Mission is, we have two missions actually in Brazil, and our goal is to connect between Israeli exporters and entrepreneurs and technologies with the Brazilian ecosystem. With that, I would like to invite Peleg, the CEO and founder of FaceRoom, which I had the pleasure of meeting first time in SIAB 2019, where he won the contest for the most interesting startup in SIAB, and later joined us in our very unique program, the Scale Up in Brazil. And I invite him here now to share with you his journey and tell a bit about entrepreneurship in Israel and Brazil and all that is in between. So Ido, welcome.
So thank you very much, Sahi and the Israeli Trade Office, Lou and Ilana, and of course, Anjos do Brasil, Gabriela and Maria, and all the team that's worked very hard for that. It's a privilege to me to say some words about my journey as entrepreneur. I hope it will not be a boring one. If yes, I'm sorry for that one, but I will do my best. And then some question probably. Like Tzachi said, I was in SIAB in 2019, and it was a great experience. I can tell you a lot about it and other things in the background, but this is maybe for a different conversation. So I want to start and say a little bit about my journey and to show or try to show, present how the Israeli entrepreneurs or the ecosystem work here. I cannot do comparing to Brazil because I don't really know how it's work totally in Brazil. I know some of that, so I will not jump to conclusion on how Brazilian work. But I will try to show you how it's work here in Israel. And there are some books that try also to capture the mindset of entrepreneur here in Israel. One of them, maybe you know, that's called Startup Nation. This is how Israel have the name Startup Nation. And last year, also a new book that's called Chutzpah, chutzpah is like the rudeness of the Israelis. If you don't know that one, so be surprised that the Israelis a little bit straightforward. If I'm speaking about myself a little bit, and I will go back then when I was young, or even when I born, I grew up in the Israeli Air Force bases. My family served on the army a lot of years. My father is admiral, so every 2 years I moved from one base to another base. I moved until when I was 12 years old, around 7 different places in Israel and also in the United States. And one of the things when you grow up in Air Force base, I don't know something else, so I cannot compare it, but it was very secure. So I take my bicycle. I remember when I was 8 years old and I traveled with my bicycle over the base until I get to my father squadron, and I played there. So it was very interesting childhood with freedom and not afraid of things. And I didn't get any limitation to do things. And I also played tennis for 12 years when I started when I was 6 and my army, and it sharpened my consistency and my desire to win. And one of the things that I remember that I never agreed to lose. So I did everything that I can win. And it started to shape my mentality or my character that's consistent and not afraid to do things and all the time push to winning. This is something that I start to get. When I don't know if you know, but every person here in Israel, when he get to 18 years old, go to the army. Back then, when I get to the army, it was 3 years for men and 2 years for women. Now it's a little bit less. And I enlisted to the army, to elite unit. It's called 669. It's kind of equivalent to the pararescue of the US Air Force. It's considered or it's among the longest special operation training in the army, and the highest number of attrition. It's mean the people that end this journey, it's only 20% of the people that started. This is also in the US, and you study a lot during the army in the course. It's in different disciplines specific to my unit. And one of the things that I remember during my duty, I was injured and I was in rehabilitation for 8 months until I get back. And during this time, my squad go to one operation, and my commander killed there, and my 4 friends get injured, and it's a little bit shaped the way that you think and how you handle uncertain situation. And this is something that the army really good on, that you never know what you will find, what you will do. And this is kind of thing that's you feel with time very comfortable. Of course, you're planning a lot of things and a lot of time before you do something, but you all the time accept of something that you never know what will bring. And you feel with time comfortable with that. You not feel stress on thing it's afraid you. You accept that one. When I finished the army, I wanted to see the world. In Israel, it's pretty common. So, and when I was young, very young, I remember I had my father brought me encyclopedia of countries, all the countries in the world. It was like in 3 parts, and it's the country, how many population, the capital, and flag and things like that. And all the time I wanted to go and travel in the world. So after the army, I take a backpack, mochila, and I did 1 year of traveling in South America, from Ushuaia, the southern city in the world, in Argentina. And I get up to Mexico City. This is where I finished my travel. So, and it's again something and you don't really plan that one. You go and you know there is a new experience every day, and you welcome that. And there are some good, some bad. And this is kind of thing that you see with time, that's uncertain situation actually make you feel comfortable. And it's okay. And in startup specific, this kind of uncertainty, it's come several times a day. Later we can, I can explain a little bit about it, but every day you have something new and something that you never planned and some of that bad, and you try or you need to manage that one. One of the things that was very interesting to me, also from young age, and then after that when I traveled, is a question why a shape become a shape. For example, if you look on nature, if you look on material things that people build, if it's buildings or even table, the question why the shape of this thing become this shape. And this is something that was very interesting to me. And I decided to go to study architecture. And I get in one of the leading faculty here in Israel. And later, I also studied in the US, in one of the leading there. And one of the things during my study and about shapes, interesting me, the connection between the human form or the human architecture to places, physical places. And because of that, when parallel to my architecture study, I started to study also Chinese medicine to see how other culture look on architecture, and more specific on the body of the architecture. And so I studied both of them. And then something interesting happened. I was one of the member of the admissions committees to the Faculty of Architecture. It's mean when a candidate want to come to study architecture, he do some exams, and if he pass the exams, he come to do interview. And we set like several interviewer in the room, and the candidate entered, and all of us saw the same thing: how the candidate look, how he dress, what is the movement, body language, then what he say, what is smell. Everything was the same thing, like objective from the sense point of view, everything was the same. But when the candidate left, each one of us thought something different about this person, about this candidate. And the question is why something that is objective actually become in our brain subjective. What makes this transform? And I did a thesis with the question or the correlation between the sense of sight and visual elements. It means what we can understand, or our brain understand only from shapes. And this is something that I started. And during that one, I researched a lot of the body of the person, of people, of human. And one of the things that make me a bulb, like a light bulb, it was that around half of the energy of the brain go to understand face analysis, like understand people faces. It's not that I understand or I need to do face recognition to know who is who. Like I don't really, our brain don't really care if he saw Gabriela before or not. You want to understand what I understand from Gabriela face. So And the question, why our energy, our brain spend a lot of energy to this case? So with this mind-blowing of how many or how much energy our brain and body spent, I started to research, and based on that, I started FaceRoom. And what FaceRoom is doing is to understand the face. And I will say another thing before. When I said that it's interesting to me, why shape become a shape? What make this form like that? And the same question, it was also for our body. And why our face look like that? Or what make this shape like that? And when I research, I understand that our biology do a lot or design our form. So if we understand our shape, it means that we can understand other things about the person, about the body, about the biology. So this is what we started to understand the content or why the shape of our face become a shape like that, and what we can understand only from that. This journey of research took us around 3 years, 4 years. I did it with 2 other PhDs, one in photogrammetry that sold the company to the Israeli aerospace industry, and another PhD that's she PhD in evolution psychology and biology, and the main research of her was the question if a person have a free will to do a decision making or our decision making based on determinism. So 3 of us together joined and start the company with a research question. And because back then it was only a research and not a product yet, we asked how we can raise something. So we get in Israel, we have the innovation authority that's give to a risk or a breakthrough theory or technology companies opportunity to develop something from scratch, and they know that it will be very hard to investors to invest on that one because it's too risky. So we get in the beginning a small grant only to develop the first mock-up to show what we succeed to research, and then we develop more our technology. I will show you a short clip, 2 minutes, what we decide to do with this technology on the sector of finance and insurance. One of the things that we wanted to do is to help people get more services, because if you get more services from the finance and the insurance, it means that you can promote your life by more education, by health, etc. And so we wanted to see how we can help the world, and more specific to unbanked people, because this is one of the biggest problems today in the world. So I will show you a short clip, what we are doing, and then we continue the conversation and question from Lou.
3 billion people in the world are unbanked. They can't promote their life by buying education, insurance, and health. Every day, 16,000 people die because of a lack of medical treatment. Millions of children facing the brutality of the outcome of poorness. The chance to survive the poorness and have opportunity is almost zero. Today, we have the biggest gap between people ever. Actually, 90% of the unbanked will be rejected by financial and insurance companies. Even that, the legacies have a lot of money to serve and help all people. The reason is because the companies can't estimate the unbanked people's risk to do a fraud or to be trusted. It's not that we can change it, we must change it. Facetron developed the first technology to understand people's behavior only from a selfie, even if they are unbanked, zero credit history. Let's create an equal opportunity to all the people in the world. Let's Facetron it.
So one of the things that we understood from the face, that's what design our face is our biology, and what make our behavior in one way is also our biology, and kind of the same hormones, the same genes. So if we can read the face, it means that we can read or predict kind of behaviors in our biology. So this is what we develop, and after we get the grant, we start to develop the technology and show the probability to do things with her and with the technology in a good way. And one of the rare things that's happened, rare thing that's happened general and also in specific to us, it was how we get to investors. In our case, and maybe we can expand it a little bit, Lou, if you want it later, but we went to some investors that we know, and we get some comments and feedbacks. And actually one day I get a phone from the biggest private investor in Israel. He really big. He's the biggest one, and he have raising. And actually it was interesting of what we are doing because he understood that it's very rare what we are doing. It's very risky in the beginning, and what is the potential to do with that things. And it was before people even know what is ML or AI. It was like how you do things, or if it's possible or not possible. So he understood the risk, and he say, okay, I want to be involved. How we can do that? So actually, the biggest private investor approached us and asked if he can join, and this is very rare. So of course we welcome that one with open arms and a lot of love. And since then we grow and bring more people and more territory. And today we work in Latin America. Actually, last week I returned from Mexico, in India, we have in Israel, and with Brazil. And that's the story from where I started to now. And probably, Lou, if you want to lead that one, if you have questions or questions from the audience, or if you want me to be more specific on something, I think now we can do an open conversation on that one.
Thank you, Ido. It was very interesting. I knew you from some time ago, but I didn't know so many interesting information. So I have many questions here, but we want to hear questions from the audience, okay? For sure. The ones that don't know me, I'm Lucina Detoni from Israel Trade and Investment. I'm here with Maria Rita, and together we're doing this Café com Homus to narrow the gap between Brazil and Israel. And Ido, I'll start with my own questions while everyone is sending their question in the chat. Please, guys, feel free to send it in Portuguese or in English. If it's in Portuguese, we translate, okay, no problems. So my first question, you started telling us about the army and how it affects you. But I wanted to go deeper on that. Here in Brazil, we have the army. The army is important here, but not everybody goes to the army. So it's quite a little bit different here in Brazil, and it's not a big differential for people that want to be an entrepreneur. But in your point of view as an Israeli and a former combat soldier of an elite unit, how do you see the influence of the army in the entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not sure that I can answer that immediately because I don't know something else. I never been not in the army, so I don't know to compare it to something. But one of the things that you learn when you are in a special one, first, before any operation that you do a lot of planning and a lot of case studies. You never go when you plan something like 6 months from now or 1 year from now, we have operation that we want to do. You never go to things like that without any knowledge or get information or try things. So first you plan a lot. The second, after you understand your limitation, there is not impossible mission. Everything impossible. Today you get rock to the moon and you can go even out of space and things like that. So everything that you want to do, it's possible. It's only the question of time, budget, and team. So if you know that one, you understand that you can achieve your goal. So it's make your distance of something impossible much in a distance in a way that it's not exist. You know that it will take you a lot of effort to do that. But if you accept to get this effort, you can achieve your goal. And also key factor is consistent and interrogation. We all the time, after every practice, even if it's a practice of 1 day, okay, before anything that you want to do, you do independent or self interrogation. You check what you did right, what you did wrong, how you can improve yourself. You never go out of the operation in the meeting room before everybody say what get wrong, and you more accept to get the wrong one and show what was the mistake or where the mistakes than the succeed one, because after all you learn a lot of things from the mistake and you don't really afraid to admit on mistakes. So this is something that the Air Force do a lot. We all the time when we finish something, we go to the room and everybody upload the mistakes and why the mistakes, why it happened and what you can improve. So this is something that's I think the army bring to your set of mind when you want to start something or want to show or to build. A lot of planning, consistent interrogation, and nothing is impossible. It's only about team and budget and time.
Amazing. And do you believe that this is the special sauce of Israel as a startup nation?
It's a good question. Maybe the books that I mentioned in the beginning, Chutzpah and the Startup Nation, and now there is a book that's called Scale Up Nation, can answer that better than me. But if you think about it, you are 18 years old, actually very, very young, mature, but you have a tons of responsibility on your end and shoulder. If you are a special force, if you do kind of mistakes, it can be a global war. specific in the Middle East one, that's it's a little bit more tough. You have a lot of responsibility, and in some cases you have millions, hundreds of millions in your hand. If you're a pilot, you have aircraft, $250 million with all the things that's in the airplane only on your end, and all the decisions actually based on you. Because when you're in operation, you don't really go back to the room with the general and ask for confirm something. You work on a way that's what you practice, and your make sense. So a lot of things depend on you, and you are still immature. When I look at now in perspective, maybe most of you have children. I don't know if they get to 18, but think about that you give to your children 18 years old. It's not a bicycle. It's like a country survival, and a lot of money in their end. So probably it brings something to the independent and the way you think. So I don't really know if it's the special sauce, but maybe there is influence, some spices in this.
Very nice, Edo. But there is a lot of questions about your technology. People are really curious. So I will start to do some questions that are here in the chat. And I will bring two together because I think you can answer them both in one answer. Sure. So Andrea Kaufman asks you, what kind of information do you get from FaceTron? And also Ronaldo Goldenstein asks you, what are the facial traits that you analyze? So I think both are more or less the same. So please.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit because the internet was not stable, but I think that I understood the question, what we can understand from the face of the attribution. So from the attribution, of course, we will not say, because this is kind of our IP and secrets, what we do to understand. But if I go to the conclusion of that one, is a lot of things today companies try to predict with a lot of big data, even some disease and things like that. But no one actually know how to do that from behavior perspective if you don't really have any information. Even if you have information, you don't really succeed with that, because you depend on information that's not really true, or you cannot rely on that. Like questionnaires and things like that, that's you need that the user or the person cooperate and do something, say about him, but we all the time lie. Actually, 80% of the people that fill form don't really say the truth. So there was not a technology that's know how to do that one. And when we understand biology, it means that we, in our case, we can understand several of things on behavior. So what we extract now, or the product that we are developed, is the way to understand kind of or several behaviors that the person have inside, and the probability that he will do that when he have opportunity or needs or things like that. So when we look on finance sector, for example, and most of the cases for people in Latin America, it's more popular, unbanked one. I think it's today 70% of the population don't really have a credit scoring or even credit history. The question, how you can even serve them, if it's possible to serve them. So the way that we develop that is in direction that can help, from one hand, of course, the people, those 70%, and from the other hand, the companies that can give the services and not lose from defaults or from fraud or other things. So this is the product that we focus on, the finance, and the attribution, we measure tons things in selfie. I didn't say that, but we take it from a selfie. So in selfie, there are a lot of parameters that we understand. So, and it was a challenge.
you know that it's really tricky to link biology with behavior, you know, that, but this is not the question that I will do here. You know, I studied philosophy and the theory of evolution, so for me it's really, really tricky. There's a lot of questions about, but let's
do. If you want to invite me for another one, and we will speak only on evolution and theory and philosophy, and I can show you a lot of examples and some case study that we did, and most of the cases it's not academic. So when I say it's not academic, it's not negative one, because in some cases in academic the research with a small amount of individual, we have in millions. So we can speak about it later.
We are going to discuss that in another occasion, but let's stay with the questions that the people are asking. And there is another one that I think is really interesting. Ricardo Calfa asks, how much is a face considered personal data? And how does FaceTron deal with regulation? He's talking about privacy.
You can return that one again?
Luciana, can you read that? Because I think that he's not hearing me very well. It's
okay.
It's Ricardo Calfati.
Okay. How much is a face considered personal data? And how does FaceTron deal with regulations?
Okay, I think that I heard the last one. How it's make the face in the regulation? The regulation?
Regulation, yes. What is personal in the reading the face, and what is the regulation on that?
Yeah, great question, and you can believe that I get this question several times. So first, we don't really take out the photo from the company. We take only vectors. We never know who is this person. We don't really save any private information. Everything is anonymous from our side, and you cannot do any reverse engineering on that one. And we know the GDPR and of course the LGDP and other regulation in other places in the world. So in Brazil case, you need, that's the data will stay in Brazil. And what we are doing is anti-fraud. We don't really do risk in the risk of risk scoring. We do anti-fraud one. It's a different one and different from also from the compliance one. And we don't really take private information. Actually, we don't really want that. Even if a company offer us, for example, the name or a social number or thing like that, we are reject. We don't want to deal with private things. So this is the way that you solve that one, and up to date globally, everything is okay and acceptable, and the GDPR, compliance GDPR, of course. So, yeah.
Great. There's another question here from Danton Távora Pescadinha Filho, and I will try to summarize his question, okay? He says that he understands that the platform is to give opportunity for people to be included inside the financial system, because you predict and evaluate how the score of this person. But he says that there is a possibility that this technology can be used to a dictatorial government. Okay, this technology can be used to a complicated thing. And how can you avoid it?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Because some of the cases I'm stuck.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So first, when you control the technology, it's your technology. You can offer it or reject on companies or other places. It's not something that I must give to somebody. This is first. The second one, I want to get to the finance inclusion one. If you think about it, today around 90% of the people that ask for services from finance and insurance get rejected. because lack of information or because other reasons. That's a lot of them exist. If you look on the 90% that companies reject, the question if you can get more customers and more users from this 90%. It's meant to increase the number of customers that the company have, and in the same time, make sure that the default not increase. So it's only helping with that one. It's and we can see that until now we succeed to increase the customers in around 60%, and the default decreased dramatically. So if you look on that, the one that you reject, the 90% that you rejected, and it's in millions, actually can become a good customers that you don't want to lose. And from the other hand, you help these people get services, and it's promote their life and also their surrounding, their families, their children, medical, get longer life, better life, more education. So it's influenced the society in a way that we never thought that it's possible. Only from somebody that's get loan that no one wanted to give him loan.
Yes, thank you, Ido. And Paulo Gonçalves is thanking you for the presentation, and he's asking, do you have already examples of effective results from the use of Facetron?
Of course. Up to now, we have, of course, it depends also on territory and the companies. In some companies, the marketing is better, so they attract better customer. In some cases, it's lower. But if we look generally, today in Israel, we're in around 89% accurate, and in India, we're in around 82% accuracy. And it's right also to Mexico in around 80, 85, 80, thing like that. In some cases 90, but this is the benchmark, above 80, 82%. And of course, it's also depend the question that you ask, what you are looking for. It's important to say we are not God. We never been 100%, and we never know to do everything. We need to know our limitation. If I need to compare it to operation in the army, what is our limitation and how we can solve this. So when you're a startup and company, you decide on one or two case studies, you run on that one, you show that it's worked well, and then you expand a little bit. So it's also depend what you specifically looking for.
Great, thank you, Ido. There is a question here from Felipe Zimmerman. I believe that some of the things you said direct to this, but it's interesting to go deeper on that. Can you talk briefly about how do you handle racist and sexist algorithm bias? I suppose Sure. It's a big challenge.
Actually, it's not really a big challenge. When people say racist, so they go immediately to, for example, black and white or things like that. First, there is not one race better than other. Okay, I don't know, maybe it will surprise somebody, but there are some Asian that's really smart one and some that are criminal. And it's right also to other races. So it's not in a race issue. When you want to be sure there is not a bias, you want to control the way that you enter data. For example, in our case, all the photos entered in black and white. Even if it's a color, you want to avoid that one. When you want to be sure there is not a racist, you check that one against race. When you enter to a new place, you do a tuning. You work with the company, and you do testing together, or you want to give them some testing that they will do. In Brazil case, and if we look on Sao Paulo, for example, is the most heterogenic city in the world. I think the highest number of Japanese out of Japan in Sao Paulo. It's right also to Italian people, black. So in Sao Paulo specific, if I take it's multi-races, there is not one thing. So you cannot get the bias because it's too heterogenic to get that one. When you speak about male and female, of course, there is some difference. You need also different models. And probably I will not surprise anyone that's women are better than us and more safer than us. And this is also from biology perspective. So you separate that one because it's a different animal or different operation system on the body. But when you look on races and things like that, it's not an issue. If I need to compare it or to have equivalent to something, all of us have the same iOS system. It's never mind if we are from Israel, India, but we have the same iOS. So you want to understand the iOS system.
I like very much the comparison. Well, Júlio Pureza asked, in case of a continuous relation in the system, able to develop a learning process that improve the understanding of the reactions. So do you think that the system will get improving and understand the reactions better, the scores better as well?
For sure. This is what I said in the beginning. We are not close to God and we'll never be like God, but we can improve ourselves. And in some cases, it's step by step. In some cases, it's like in jumps. It's dependent on a lot of things. But of course, when you're working on something and grow from several perspectives, it's growth from manpower, from intelligence, from budget, from data. So it makes a lot of improvement when you increase when you grow the company. So for sure we will grow. We will never get to 100% if somebody wonder, but I think that we can improve a lot.
Great. And linked to that, I can ask you what Augusto Tomza wants to know. And it's a very important question for a new startup. He asks you, what is your main challenge today?
It depends where. As a company or to Brazil?
No, as a
we
company.
Need to separate that one?
I think as a company.
Okay.
I think.
So
he didn't answer, but I want to know as a company, what's your biggest challenge today?
Yeah, we can also speak about it from Brazil after that, but from a company, it's a very good question. First, I don't know how many of you are familiar with what happened now with the Israeli ecosystem, but up to now, in a place like in Tel Aviv or around Tel Aviv, that it's maybe a neighborhood in São Paulo, and it's only 200,000 people. We have 70 unicorns, 70. It means that there are a lot of money, but from the other hand, very lack of manpower. When you want to hire somebody, first, it costs you a lot. The second, it's really hard to find someone that is talent. And some cases you find, but he's too junior. So you need to grow him. And then he can live. And there are a lot of challenges this time in Israel about manpower. This is the first one. And also when I look on, it's not a technology, but it's an expertise, it's become more and more details. So for example, now you have DevOps that's only for AWS, or DevOps only for Google, and then security only for a specific API or database. So it's become in a way a place with a lot of experience and expertise in specific thing. And if you want something specific, it's really hard to find that, and you need also the cash to pay. So this is the first challenge that you have. The second one is how you penetrate, or how you pilot things when it's in a new place. It's also something that's it's a challenge. I think these two are the major one.
And for Brazil, you said that you are going to explain also?
Yeah. So Brazil, it's really interesting one. I can speak a lot about Brazil and what I experienced in my short time. In Brazil, what I found, two things. The first, the companies really want to do innovative, but it takes slow, and in some cases they don't really go full power to the top to check in the end, like, let's do that, and it's step by step and it's take a long time. And I think that's the legacy in this case. Maybe we lose to the startups. If you look on the finance, new bank will win all the other banks if the banks will not go and do innovation. If you look on insurance, the same thing. This is the first challenge. When you work with companies, how in Brazil side, how they can run faster and try the innovative in a more I don't know how to say that, but in a way that it can help that company and also the startup to do that. The second one is the bureaucracy. I had a friend when I studied in the US, and I met a friend Brazilian in New York, and she was an attorney, a lawyer for taxation. And I asked, why you need to be specific in taxation? Because in Israel, it's not like that. You have somebody that's do taxation, but it's common. And when I entered a little bit to the process of Brazil, I understood how complicated is the taxation, for example. So when you work globally, and now you get to a specific place with different rules, and it's complicated, you need to find a way to get above the bureaucracy. So this is also a challenge that we have a little bit in Brazil. It will be solved, but this is a challenge.
We know that, and we hope that our government will help us to solve all of that. I always say we have to go in Brazil as all the world goes, because when we talk about the startup world, it's really about the world. We cannot be different, but it's really a challenge.
Yeah. We have here more two questions from the audience. I'll try to mingle them together. Diogo Menezes asks if the risk analysis through facial recognition is something situational, or does it depend on the individuals? And Evelyn also asks if the place of the person affects on that.
Yeah, so no, it's not depend on the situation. We don't really do, for example, emotion, because emotion depend on the specific moment. If somebody wake up happy or sad or thing like that, and this is not show about the reliability or the trustness of the person and thing like that. What we look is the structure. So it's not on that one. The differences that it's important is, for example, aging. If somebody now is 40 and the company have a photo of him when he was 20, it's different because the aging, the face change during the life because of aging, nutrition, health condition, and things like that. So when you want to analyze something, you need to do it in the current time, not because of emotion and things like that. Only want to be sure that this is the right situation, the current situation of the person.
Okay, so we are about to finish. We had so many questions. We are happy about it. So maybe people should talk more to you later. If you allow, we can connect them to you. But my question to you at this moment is, if you could just leave one piece of advice to Brazilian entrepreneurs, what would that be?
It sounds like I'm already successful with all the thing in the world that now I can give tips to somebody. It's not this case. I will try to be back to earth. So I don't really sure that I have something like that. I can say what I studied, and maybe somebody can get from that one. First, don't be afraid. In the worst case, you will succeed because the failure you already have when you don't really try. The second, and I think this is how I started, if you have a mission, you need to find only the right people. It's not about your friend. When you establish something, it's not a scout. It's not that you go to a camp. You need to find only the best people that can join and deliver what you want to do. And you should run fast. I don't know, but there is a kind of a parable that's two people walking on the forest, and the shoes is on their shoulders, and they meet a bear, and one of them get down and start to put his shoes, and other friends say, "You kidding me? You joke on me? You never run faster than the bear." Say, "Yeah, but I will run faster than you." So it's like run fast, and you will have competitors, but you should run faster. So find the right people, run fast as possible, and don't be afraid, because there is nothing to be afraid on that one. So I don't know if it's tips, I don't know if you can cope that one, but this is what I believe to myself. So if the Brazilian want to take it, more than welcome.
It was great, Ido. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your vision to us. It was great. We love to talk to different people that have new technology and all of that. And thank you so much, Luciana and Israel Trade, for organizing all that and make all these wonderful connections. We are going to have news for you all in a little bit, so always stay connected to us. Thank you so much. Luciana, final words?
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It's a pleasure. It will be, you have all the previous Café com Homus in the YouTube channel of Anjos do Brasil, so don't forget to check the previous ones. And we'll stay together.
Thank you. Bye-bye, people.
Thank you very much for the time. Thank you for inviting me. And maybe next time in Brazil.
Thank you.
So. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.